Rather than doing the talking segment and going on from there and leaving the internals look to the end, I'm going to do the internals first, just for those who genuinely want to just get their regulator modded, but they don't know about, where goes where in the motherboard upgrade kit that Worker provides. So yeah, starting from the front with my personal regulator, we have ourselves an open flywheel project Hyperfire cage. This one was printed with stock spacing, so 43.5 millimeter. And on top of those, at the moment, it's 2 Worker accurate wheels. I bought these as a part of my first flywheel mod with my Strife. Since then, I have found out that they're mainly meant for higher crush cages because of the amount of grip that they get on the dart and the spin they give them for more accuracy. So at the moment, that's the reason why I'm hitting like 105 FPS on this regulator. Better than stock, but once I get Worker smooths in here, it will bring it up to, 115 and 120, regardless of the firing mode. Beneath those, to spin it all up, are 2 Misho motors, Misho 2.0s, inexpensive, and they work great. If I recall correctly, the polarity is dependent on you and how you set up your motors. So we'll follow along to the back. Here's one of the UV, or I guess UV sensors that detect inside the magazine well if there's a magazine present, and also count how many darts fly out of it, so that if you have a 25 dart drum, you could have it fire full auto. This guy and the one on the other side of the show will in fact be counting the darts that fly out and send a signal or a visual to this voltmeter ammo counter hybrid piece that Worker provides with the kit. So once you see it reach 25, you know that you're out of ammo. You could also hold this down, change it up. I don't know. I haven't messed with it enough to know. I just keep it at ammo counter because it's convenient for me. Moving on to the meat and potatoes of this guy. Get ready. I'll start out easily here. Here's the pusher motor. It did have a resistor chipboard on it, but I just heated up the solder and just yanked it off of here because there's no need for it. As you could tell, red's positive, black is negative. So the red positive wire will be going to the right side of this little screw-in box, while the negative lead will be going on to the left side of this screw-in box. And so this is what basically sends a signal to these motors to start spinning the conveyor belt, and also provides motor braking. So the moment you stop firing or you're out of ammo, the thing will just stop. It will come to a halt. Now then, going from top to bottom here, this one's probably the first or probably the easiest ones. This is the battery lead. You have negative on the top terminal and positive on the bottom terminal between these first two. I did solder it onto the other side because, as I said on my Instagram post and Twitter, the screw-in ports that you see for these guys are faulty on mine, so they've never really tightened down the wire strong enough to get a good connection. So I just soldered it onto the other side. As you could tell, there's little nubs on the other side where you could solder to, and that's where this mess is, because oh boy, the spacing in between them is very small for 18 gauge wire even. So as I said, negative battery lead, positive battery lead, and then the next set is for the flywheels. This time, the positive, let me focus a bit. I guess not, because of how small and cramped everything is, but yeah. The positive lead is a third one from the top over here, whereas the negative lead goes right under it. So that's how you'd want to wire it up for your flywheels, to make sure that the polarity is correct. If you wire any of these the wrong way or something, like as you could see, it's negative, positive, positive, negative. If you wire it any other way, chances are you're going to have inverted flywheels that just shoot the dart back into the blaster, which is a no bueno. Going on from there now, we have the last of the two solder joints, which is from the switch that powers up the conveyor belt motor, the pusher motor. From here, I actually marked the switches, and let me just read my excerpt. There we go. So this top one here is the COM switch. It comes from the COM tab on the switch, all the way up to this fifth one from the top. And then from there, you have the normally open wire, which goes down to the bottom one right here, just before these last two leads, which are for your rev trigger. From here, As you can see, this thing is the plug connection for the, yeah, this one's the plug connection for the other UV light, or LED light on the other side of this shell, which read the ammo and I guess detect any jams. Whereas the one below it, as you can see, these yellow and this rainbow colored wire, I think. I'm just hoping that I got it right. Yes, I did. Alright, yeah, the one with the yellow wire right here leads to down there, which is the select fire switch. Whenever you twist the knob on the shell, let me pull it up here for reference. There we go. Whenever you pull the knob on this shell, to the different firing modes, it will flick a little switch that's on that chip, which sends a signal here saying, like, hey, go full auto, go burst fire, go single mode. Focus. There we go. So yeah, that's what that little switch does down there, and it plugs in onto the bottom part of this tray. So yeah, that's a look at the wiring, really, in terms of what you need to do for the motherboard kit. So as I said, the battery leads up here, flywheel motors over here, conveyor belt pusher wires here, and then at the bottom the screws were actually tight enough for the rev trigger itself to the flywheel, so I just put them in there. So following the leads, at the very bottom is the COM terminal. So at the very end, this last peg is where you'd squeeze in the COM terminal wire, whereas the one just above it, before the very bottom, is where you'd squeeze in the normally open. For me, since I'm running upgraded motors and such, I did upgrade the switch to a lever one, so you get that nice clicky sound. And of course, as I said, you do need to make space in this blaster because of how cramped the internals were in stock form. So I just cut a whole bunch of this place up, super glued this guy into place, and now, as you can see, the leads are running appropriately. If you do plan on upgrading the conveyor belt switch, which I'd recommend doing, but at the moment I'm not, I could definitely see you making some space over here for like that cherry Omron switch, and having a switch over here as opposed to inside of this casing right here, which all it does is hold in all the locks. But once you remove all the locks and go lockless on this mod, like I did for the rewire, you just need that one switch that activates the conveyor belt motor in here. So yeah, if you're able to rewire it and put that conveyor belt motor switch over here, you could actually get rid of this whole assembly, this plastic assembly of the trigger, and leave even more space for these wires to fit in snugly. Because as you could see with my shell from earlier, I did just cut a huge gaping hole inside of this guy just so that I could set this down without squeezing the wires and possibly snapping the solder joints. And at last, we have the last leads right here, the last part of the kit, which I believe, let me follow the leads real quick. Huh. Okay then. So it's these leads that plug in onto the bottom half. No. These leads plug into the... Let me just double check my work here. Okay, yeah. There we go. We're in focus now again. Hopefully. There we go. So this top one is to plug in the select fire switch right here, while the bottom one just below it actually is what plugs in the ammo counter voltage meter part that Worker provides with this kit. So hopefully I explained it as clearly as possible as to what each of these wires are for. Mine are rewired. For you, it's going to be color coded because, Nerf likes to use the whole spectrum of colors for their stock wiring, so the worker instructions will be a lot more easier. But for someone like me who rewired this guy and overhauled it completely, this is a look into where every modded wire and upgraded cable will need to go. Obviously, the battery's power source is all up to you. As I said, I use 6AA. It does the trick. If you use 2S LiPo, 3S LiPo, what have you, definitely go for XT60 or your Dean's connector, whichever one suits your needs in your part of the country, of the world really. And so yeah, that's a look into the regulator in all its complex beauty, from the switch to the conveyor belt trigger to every last wire on the dock. The mag release is a bit wonky. Sometimes it will like jam into place like this, so giving your regulator a good smack on the side will free the wires and free the wonky release that happens at times. And so yeah, that's a look inside of here. I'll show you guys some firing footage and a range test with the Worker accurate reels. Hopefully I get smooth soon so I could boost it up by another 15 to 20 FPS. Yeah, this has been Spartan here explaining the internals view. No talk segment. It's all about what's in this blaster and what you need to do to make it work with the worker motherboard kit. It's too hot outside for a range test, so I'm just gonna show you the firing modes and what the worker kit does to make it a bit more responsive than the stock one. It also can take higher voltages, so that's why I installed it for this 9V or for LiPo. Single. Burst fire. That motor braking though. Full auto, we're just gonna mag dump whatever's left in the drum. And empty. So that's all you need to know about the regulator. Hope you guys have a good day and try modding one of your own as well.